Hello and welcome to CCI Presents an Interview With. I'm Becky Brady and I'm the course leader of post-production and drummer for Fake Empire.
And I'm Ben McFadyean, journalist, PhD researcher in the School of Creative Studies at Portsmouth University. Today we have a very special guest indeed.
He's a drummer who has recorded hits for pop giants including S Club 7, Mick Hucknall, Atomic Kitten and Take That, notching up 4 number ones in the process.
Our guest is also an alumnus of the University of Portsmouth and is currently on tour with the band. Welcome, Geoff Holroyde.
Lovely to have you, Geoff.
The band feeder, not the band. That's Bob Dylan's band.
Gotcha. Geoff, you studied civil engineering, graduated in '92. Let's just get straight in there. We were just walking around a bit before and it was all coming back to you. What was the university like? I mean, you saw our building now at the Eldon and I think you were suitably impressed, but how different was it to the 1990s?
Yeah, it's changed a lot. I think that one is a new build. So it wasn't around when I was, because I was 1990 to 94, I think. So that was, I don't know what was there before, but some of the other ones are still, obviously still here. And yeah, the place looks very familiar. I've been back a few times, but it's it's a lovely place to come back to because I did spend 4 years of a particular time in my life having a lot of fun times, meeting great people, having got some great friends which I'm still in touch with. When I was here.
Incredible,
so, yeah.
Incredible.
That's awesome. And I think, so obviously you studied civil engineering.
Yeah.
What sort of took you on the path of music from there?
Well, yeah, I mean, before I came to university, I did a year travelling around the world, sort of backpacking sort of thing. And I'm half Australian, so I went to Australia and lived there for about 8 months. And when I was there, I got into this band, playing drums in this covers band. There was a really strong covers band scene in Sydney. Like every pub had a band, pretty much. So there was loads of jobs going in for musicians, and I borrowed my uncle's friend's drums, which were basically a toy drum set, which had children's wallpaper, different kinds of children's wallpaper on the shells. So it was like pink elephants on this one, and then teddy bears on that one, and the bass drum had candy canes or something. And I turned up to this audition and somehow I got it. And then I did like a few months with them, about 5 nights a week, playing disco covers, you know, all the famous disco greats. And I guess I really kind of enjoyed being in a band and earning money from it. It was the first time I ever got paid to play drums. And then I came to Portsmouth and started the degree here, and I was going to be an engineer, and I was going to be, my dad was an engineer, my grandfather was an engineer, I was going to be an engineer. And the first thing I did was find other musicians and form a group here. And we had a little jazz band called the Inflatable Quartet, and we used to play at Wedgwood Rooms and Harry Limes, if that's still there. Is that still there?
The Wedgwood Rooms is, but I'm not sure.
Harry Limes, it was on a roundabout. It was over by, I couldn't tell you the road, but anyway, the Spotted Dog pub we used to play at. Yeah, so whilst doing the degree, I was playing a lot of music and hanging out with other friends that love music and listening to all their record collections because there was no internet back then. So to find new music, you had to bump into somebody that was into Frank Zappa, or you had to bump into somebody that had the new Mahavishnu album, or go to the Students' Union and see, like I didn't do Nirvana for £5 on a February Tuesday. I remember they turned up to play here before they were famous.
Wow.
And I remember sitting with my friends and we didn't have any money, and it was Tuesday, it was February, it was cold. You know, cold and rain in Portsmouth is a different kind of cold and rain. And we didn't go. I remember saying, we should go and see this band that people are starting to sort of... And it was before the album came out or anything. And anyway, didn't go, silly. But apparently it was half full, you know, hardly anybody turned up.
Incredible.
And it was the original 3, you know, Chris, Kurt and Dave. Wow. at the Enfield. But anyway, so yeah, coming across different kinds of music was really important to me. And at the same time, I was doing civil engineering in the daytime. I did complete the degree, but as soon as I got it, I decided that I wanted to go into music, I think. Give it a go.
Amazing career.
So that was the journey through here.
Geoff, you were born in Peterborough and you lived in Birmingham growing up.
Yeah.
We were talking before the show. How did you manage to... Fratton Park is such a massive thing in Portsmouth.
Yeah.
And going to watch Pompey, they're top of the league right now. They're championship bound, 7 points clear. How did you manage to avoid going down to Fratton Park to watch a game?
Well, I mean, I was in a band of local guys as well as my friends who were students, and they were massive Pompey fans, you know. But I was just never. I was really one. It was just music. Nothing was. I just football something. I enjoy watching it, but I've never been an avid supporter or anything like that.
So would you say that in terms of your career, you've always found that being totally single-minded is the key to success in terms of achieving a high level of...
I mean, you have to be obsessed.
Yeah.
Because the competition's pretty stiff out there.
Coming back to music, I'm a big fan of Simply Red, and so I was really excited to see that you worked with Mick Hucknall.
Yeah.
Mick has one of the greatest voices of UK R&B.
He does, yeah.
And he has a reputation, however, for being something of a perfectionist and perhaps somebody who doesn't take prisoners. But he's also an incredible fun-loving party guy as well. What's Mick Hucknall like in real life to work with?
He's, like you say, he's a perfectionist. You know, he's got a fantastic knowledge of music, all kinds of music. Actually, you know, he doesn't just listen to soul and funk and the sort of stuff that he creates. He's got you know, he was at the Sex Pistols gig. No, hang on, or was it Joy Division? I think it was Sex Pistols. I think he went to see the Sex Pistols when they came to Manchester. And yeah, reggae, rock, jazz, funk, you name it, classical. He listens to it all. Very knowledgeable man about music. So yeah, but he, like you say, he's got a completely unique voice. From the moment he opens his mouth, it's him. There's no denying it. Doesn't even need to end the first word to realise who's singing. You know, he's one of those. So yeah, amazing privilege to record with him.
That's awesome. So I guess, you know, you've worked with loads of really sort of profound artists. Mm-hmm. How did that happen? So at what point in your career did it kind of shift to these big high-end artists?
So, oh God. So the story is, so I was, after Portsmouth, I recorded an album here with a band called Mandragora. And there was a chap called Simon Williams who lived in Penny Street with Al Jenkins, who's a phenomenal bass player. Simon was a guitar player, songwriter, and Al Jenkins, and they lived together, and they had a band called Mandragora, and the drummer in that band was a guy called Nav Malik, who lived next door to me in Wilberforce Road when I lived there. And Nav gave up being in the band, and he said to me, "Do you want to join Mandragora, take my place? I've recommended you." And I was still doing the degree here. And I said, yeah, I'd love to. And it was psychedelic rock. They're a bit like Ozric Tentacles. A lot of sort of Frank Zappa influence, you know. Again, when I went round to their house, I learnt about Frank Zappa. I'd heard about him, but never heard the music. No internet back then, so it wasn't until I met them and went round their house and they started playing Frank Zappa, going, you've got to listen to this, you've got to check this out. And lots of Alan Holdsworth and Soft Machine, all these things I'd heard of, but never actually heard, because they didn't get played on the radio very often, this stuff. So I joined that band, and I recorded an album with them on Albert Road at a studio called Crystal Rooms, I think it was. Steve Hoff was the owner, I don't know if he's still there. And he had an upstairs, downstairs, control room downstairs, live room upstairs, and we played live. We basically just did a live album, played all together. And a guy called Phil Thornton, who was a Moog specialist from Bexhill, he came in and mixed it. He did a fantastic job and played this ridiculous, amazing Moog. He's like a world-renowned Moog specialist. Made that album. We went on tour to Italy, and they invited a guy from Brighton, Ben. I'll try and keep this short. Ben was from a band called Urubu in Brighton, and they were this sort of funk Brazilian, Latin jazz, amazing players, just the kind of people that I wanted to sort of experience. And then drummer from that band happened to leave in the following month. So Ben said, "Do you want to come and play with this band?" Yes, of course I do. So I used to drive over to Brighton twice, every Friday and Saturday, and play with them. They had a residency in a club called the Casablanca. And then my brother, who was a hip-hop scratch DJ, he moved down to Brighton. I moved to Brighton. We moved in together. He joined a band called Goldbug. The Goldbug had a sort of #1, I think, with fusing together Led Zeppelin and Pearl and Dean.
Wow.
Do you remember that song? And it was like a dance track. He got poached from that band to play with a pop star called Lisa Moorish. I went to watch him play at the Hanover Grand in London with Lisa Moorish, and I met the manager, and I said, "If you ever need a drummer, I'm his brother, I'm a drummer." And he said, "I need a whole band." So I gave him a tape of the band that was playing in Brighton with, because they were perfect for sort of pop music. They were all really, really great musicians. I sent the cassette, it was, to him. And then a few days later I came home and there was a message on the answering machine, and he said, "Hey, listen, I want to hire all of you guys."
Amazing.
So I told the band, we've got a gig with a pop. She had a #1 single, or a top 10, it wasn't #1. Lisa Moorish, her name was. And then we ended up, fast forward a few weeks, ended up playing Gay Pride at Clapham Common to 250,000 people with Lisa Moorish. And the guitar player that was in that band, there was an extra guitar player. He was in another band in London, and he said, "Do you want to come and play with my band?" It was like a indie sort of punk band. So I said, "Yeah, sure. I've never done that before."
Amazing.
So then that next door to where that studio was the producer of Simply Red, and he put his head round when I was practicing one day and said, "Are you available for sessions?" And I said, "Yes, I am."
Nice.
And the first session I ever did for him was Natalie and Ibuglia, Left of the Middle, which sold 13 million copies. And I was on one track on that.
Amazing, such a diversity.
And that was that. If there was ever a point where it started, it was meeting Andy Wright, the producer, because he produces Simply Red, and S Club 7, and all the big stuff that I've done.
Incredible.
He uses me from that day when he just literally put his head and goes, "Are you available for sessions?" It was like that was the moment, really. But the leading up to it was to get into that place in London was all started from, well, it started here, really.
Yeah, actually, I remember getting kicked out of the Hanover Grand as a student, so I remember that place well. Yeah. Talking about Feeder, you're obviously on tour with Feeder right now. You're in the middle of a tour. You played in Cambridge last night. One of the things that strikes me about Feeder is the incredible diversity of the music, from psychedelic rock to kind of hard rock, almost metal sounds. And is that by design, do you think, or is it just kind of developed organically over time?
Definitely by design. I mean, Grant, who writes all the material, is extraordinarily driven, and he's got a big palette, which he's not like a gimmick. He loves music, all kinds of styles of music. So he wants to tackle that when he's writing, and he does. So he can do a ballad right through to a kind of, like you say, metal. Riffy, kind of like distorted, intense thing, and it all kind of fits together. It all sounds like Feeder. That's why they're wonderful to work with, because it's not just the same thing over and over again. There's
amazing.
quite a lot of diversity. Yeah.
So do you also record with Feeder, or do you tour with them?
Yeah, both. I've done. Grant likes to use Carl Brazil on record as well, so we both share the drumming duties. And Carl is phenomenal. He plays with Robbie Williams, James Blunt. He's a phenomenal player in the studio and live. So I have to kind of really get, work on my game to be next to him on the record. And it's a privilege and an honour to be there.
Yeah.
So I think last 3 albums I've recorded on.
Oh, awesome.
With Carl.
And it must be so much pressure, like sharing that drumming role with, as you say,
another
musician.
Yeah, because I mean, when you're next to somebody else, people can go, hang on a second. is that are you dragging your feet there? But thankfully, I've managed to get away with it up to now. That's what I always talk about. People, how's the career going? I'm still getting away with it, because I was never taught. I never had any lessons or anything. This is all a big sort of stab in the dark, really.
You're still waiting to be found out.
Yeah. Imposter syndrome. It's a real thing.
That's cool. So when it comes to your drumming, then, would you say there's been some strong influences in your technique for drumming, or just how you play, or anything?
Yeah, I mean, massively. I mean, it's all been influences, because I never had a teacher. I wish I'd had lessons from Roy, who had the drum pad here. Roy's drum pad was a shop that was on the way home from university. I used to go past, and I'd go in there, and Bernie Fox, got a shout out to Bernie. He was such an influence on me. He was like the local drum legend, and me and him both shared similar kind of loves of certain drummers. So I'd just go in there and talk to him about these people, and we'd have big, long conversations. And he'd gone to see a lot of people because he was a bit older than me. And I used to go and watch him all the time. Whenever he played, I'd go and watch Bernie. He was a huge influence on me, actually. And then Rob Milner, the bass player, who's still around, because your friend who we just met plays with him. South African
nice
bass player. Yeah, fantastic jazz bass player. He pushed me quite hard when I was here. And Ricky Eastman on sax, I used to play with him a lot as well. He's a local hero. But as far as like the big guys go, it's Steve Gadd, it's Tony Williams, it's Vinnie Collie. There's just too many to mention, And when I came here and I started finding other people's record collections, and I started to hear these guys, and it's like, wow, who's that? And and to get that on cassette, and I go home and record it and listen to it and go, oh God. But I mean, it was all been about through listening,
Some amazing influences, as you mentioned, from Kevin Ayres, Soft Cell to different kind of bands, and you've very broad in terms of your influences, and you've listened obviously very broadly. Coming back to Feeder, obviously you've been the drummer since 2016. Again, that's quite a long period of time, and I saw you guys 2019, I think, at the Pyramid. It was an amazing show, and I was reading up around the band, and John Lee was one of the founders of the band, and he tragically died at the age of just 33 in Miami. At a time when Comfort in Sound, the album, had gone platinum, the band were touring worldwide. They were the absolute, height of success at the time. And Hey Johnny, which is on the 2012 album Generation Freak Show, was written about John. I feel that when I listen to the album, that there's almost a kind of sadness or something that's carried over into the album, which makes the album so much more profound. What's the influence do you feel that John has had on the band, lasting influence, and how does it affect you as a drummer of the band to know that you're there where John was before you?
Yeah, it's a good question, and it's a difficult question because he's still very much in the band, in the room. They were all very good friends, and the two guys lost their mate, and that's not something that's ever going to heal, or be, there's a big scar there for Grant and Taco, the Comfort in Sound, the writing of that was Grant's sort of outpouring of emotion for the loss of his friend, as far as they've never got over it. They never will get over it. It's very difficult to. And the thing is, the guy was an amazing player. I mean, he was absolutely phenomenal drummer. If he was around now, who knows what he'd be doing? He was really, really good drummer. And I had to study him with a fine-tooth comb and go through all those bass. He had a certain way with the bass drum. He had a lovely. I call him the Sugarfoot because he has this beautiful bass drum technique, and everything, the hands as well. He's got a very kind of delicate. He's like a sort of. he's like a Muhammad Ali, floats like a bumblebee, floats like a butterfly, stings like a bumblebee. He's got that, power and passion and presence, but at the same time, there's a very delicate side to it. It's not just, bashing.
Yeah.
And it's so important to capture that for me, When I came into this, and then you've got Mark Richardson who came afterwards, and he's another
Skunk Anansi.
He's another fantastic player, and then obviously Carl after that. So my job in Feeder was, they said, "Oh, just come and bring your thing," and but I realised that I really had to channel as best I could, not copy. I didn't want to copy it. You can't really. Everybody has their own touch, But I really had to try and identify all the important elements of each player's parts and make sure that they were there for the people listening, because that's what makes because all the bass parts and the guitar parts and the drum parts, they all work. They're really sort of interlocked. It's very well. Grant is extremely, and Taka, they really think about the whole thing and how it all interlocks together, and the drums have to have all those elements in order for the thing to work. So I had to put a lot of time into learning. I mean, just recently we've dug out Tangerine and Polythene Girl, which are off Echo Park, the first album with John. And once again, it's all this bass drum action that he does. I've got to capture it, because it doesn't work unless they're all there. And so I really, I've put a lot of work and time into making sure that happens to make the music.
Yeah, it
lift
really
up to the
shows,
place.
doesn't it?
Yeah.
It really shows.
Cool.
Feeder are headlining the Teddy Rocks Festival in Dorset. The festival was set up to raise money for Teddy Newton, who died at just 10 from Ewing's rancoma, a type of bone cancer. I noticed that Feeder has this kind of philanthropic, you're a big band, you're going to play a much smaller concert. Like, what does this actually mean to be doing this kind of thing for the band?
Teddy Rocks, we've done that 2 or 3 times before. They're a lovely family. I mean, it started off really small, and then it's grown into this, I don't know how many years it's been going now, but it gets bigger each year. They're fantastic. His brother has set the whole thing up and runs it, and it's now become one of the main festivals in the country. And it's great to be involved. Because a music festival is all about peace and love, and sharing, and having a outside, listening to great music, and basically pushing the world outside.
Absolutely.
Outside.
Don't we need that right now?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, tell me about it. So yeah, it's a great one. It's not corporate. It's not about making money. It's about people and having fun and remembering, obviously, Teddy.
Yeah,
which is a great thing. Yeah.
So, I mean, we've almost run out of time now, but just sort of one final question. If you had to give any advice to sort of upcoming musicians or drummers in particular, what would you say to them?
Oh, God. Well, I mean, let's talk about drums for a second. Rudiments. I mean, I gave you a lesson once upon a time, didn't I? And because I never had a teacher, so I just sort of picked the sticks up and started bashing on. Oh, it was actually knitting needles. My grandmother's knitting needles were the first things. It wasn't till later I realised that there's this whole world of bouncing and rebounds and conservation of energy that has to be mastered if you want to get the stuff that you want to play in your head out of your hands and your feet. So definitely study the rudiments and the stick control, syncopation. And there's another great book by a guy who studied with Alan Dawson. Alan Dawson taught Tony Williams, who's, they call him the greatest. He probably was. Miles Davis, second quintet drummer, and he had this amazing ability to just play anything, whatever he was thinking, he could do it. And he studied with Alan Dawson, and Alan has this thing called the ritual, which is a rudimental exercise. It's like it's a challenge, and it's one of the best things I've ever found. it's like yoga for drums. You know, it's
Amazing.
it's like the driving range for golf. You know,
Amazing.
it's how to get your swing together. It's how to get everything together. So when you go and play, you can just relax and think about the music basically, rather than worrying about, oh, my hands aren't going fast enough. What's going on with my foot?
Amazing.
So that's a really good. So that's the best advice. Just get stuck into and love them. Rudiments are great. They're really when they sound nice. You know, flammadiddle-diddles. They're great things when they sound nice.
Yeah.
So you know, do that, and then just listen to the greats. Listen to Steve Gadd. Listen to Jeff Porcaro. Listen to John Bonham.
Toto.
Yeah. Listen to those. You know, the truly great drummers. There's 5 or 10 of them. The reason that they were there is because they just had this infectious sound that just everybody wants to just keep hearing. That's what you're chasing. You've got to try and, you want to become a great, you've got to try and find your infectious sound that doesn't get boring after 3 minutes. You know, you can listen to this person for days on end and it never gets boring. John Bonham, you can listen to that guy days and days and days. And I never get tired of it because he was such a sweet musician, player of the drums. You know, Jeff Porcaro, another one. You know, Steve Gadd, another one.
Awesome.
And on the list goes.
Love it, love it.
Thank you
It's been
so
wonderful.
much.
All right.
Fabulous. So
Thank you
so much for coming in
You're welcome.
and sort of giving that insight. It's amazing. So obviously you can catch Geoff's amazing drumming tomorrow, where you're playing at Portsmouth Guildhall, aren't you?
Yeah.
With Feeder, ready for the Black Red 2024 tour. So you've been watching an interview with Geoff Holroyde, and thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so
You're
much.
welcome. Thank you.